Well, welcome everyone to the Business Builder Show. My name is Marty Wolf, and I am the host for the Business Builder Show. And hopefully, a lot of you folks already know that. And so welcome back. My special guest with me today is Eric Rieger. Eric, thanks for joining me, man. It's nice to see you and nice to hear from you.
Marty, thanks for having me. Always a pleasure to chat with you, and thanks for having me on the show.
You bet. So, little background. Eric and I met at Zingerman's in Ann Arbor, Michigan. And I can't even remember. Oh, Anise Kavanaugh, I think, was there with us that day. Is that correct, Eric?
Yep. She was doing a little presentation on her IEP methodology, and you and I struck up a conversation and haven't stopped talking since.
That's correct. Well, that's the way networking is supposed to work. You meet good folks and you start talking. So, Eric Rieger, let's start out this way. You tell me who your company is and tell me what you do there briefly, and we'll get into how it started and all that. But kind of, what is the company and what do you do there?
Sure. The company is called Webbit Services, and we have two divisions in the company. One is called SecureBit, and that provides managed IT and managed security services, dabbling in compliance now. Shouldn't really say dabbling, but we're
Yes.
expanding the compliance stuff. And then we have a division called Upstream Impact. We do custom software development, application integrations, and things like that, mostly for the nonprofit industry or vertical market in that division.
Uh-huh. Working primarily with small, mid-sized businesses. Is that kind of your space?
Yeah, 20 to 300 employees is kind of the sweet spot right now. So in the bigger organizations, it tends to be more of a co-managed. They have internal resources we're augmenting. On the
Yeah.
smaller side, we're like the outsourced IT department.
Yeah. Well, Eric is the founder and CEO of this company. And am I saying it Webbit, right? Is that the way I should say it?
You got
Okay.
it, Webbit Services.
It's WEBIT, so I kind of want to say Web IT, which I guess that's what it means, I guess. So you run on a platform or a business platform, I guess, called EOS. Tell everybody what EOS is and tell everybody why you like that.
Sure. Well, EOS it started with the book Traction by Gino Wickman. I think it's probably 15 years ago now is when the book came out, the original book.
Hmm.
And it's really kind of an operating system to run your business on. There's six core tenets in there, and you're trying to align service delivery with your values, putting the right people in the right seats. So it's kind of a machination of things. You've heard some bits and pieces from Jim Collins and Good to Great, and so Gino put all this together in kind of an operating system to run your business on. And we just prior to this call, we had just finished what we call our weekly level 10 meeting, and you spend 90 minutes in this meeting and 60 minutes of it on our identifying, discussing, and solving problems in the business. So really putting a focus on the things that are holding you back or challenging the business, and giving a platform for leadership to identify that. And we've pushed those meetings out to all the departments in the organization as well. So not only is leadership doing it, but at the departmental level, they're using this process to identify and solve problems every week.
Why did you think that was needed, and when did you think that was needed? Did you grow and there's started complexity started to come in? How and why did you start it?
Yeah, well, one of the things in EOS is at the kind of the leadership level, there's two types of people. There's visionaries and there's integrators, and they couldn't be more different. So,
Mm-hmm.
as a visionary, I've got a million crazy ideas a day, and if you're left unchecked, you will drive everybody in your organization crazy because the priorities are changing every 5 minutes. It's
Yeah,
just how we're wired.
yeah,
So the integrator's role is to go through all those crazy ideas, find the one that's actually worth pursuing, and put like a process around when and how we're going to attack that idea. So it really kind of helped me still stay in my zone of genius, but
yeah,
put parameters on it so that my crazy doesn't spill into the company and drive people out.
yeah, yeah. I listened to an interview, or was it from her book? I'm not sure. Brene Brown, and she was telling about this exact situation, and she's hilarious. Of course, she's all about being vulnerable, and so she was really funny when she was talking about it. So let's go back to how it all started, and I see, I understand that your father had some wisdom to share with you when you were thinking about starting a business. Now, I want to read this exactly what your father suggested to you when you said, "Hey, Dad, I think I want to go out on my own." And he said, "Well, son, you have a credit card. Why not?" I guess that's a good reason as any. So why did
Yeah,
you
we
do
should
it? You had the credit card and you launched, right?
probably put an asterisk around that as don't necessarily follow in my footsteps, as that may not be good financial advice.
I'm with
Um,
you.
the takeaway from that is my dad was like the one influence in my life that was as positive as you can get. So, if you brought him a problem, he's one of those people that would try to find a solution regardless of,
Yeah,
he only saw opportunity, not obstacles.
right.
And so that was his way of going, well, you need money to start a business. You have somebody else's money. Go ahead and do it.
Yeah.
And so I did. and,
But
and
I
it kind
share
of
that
worked
feeling,
out.
but not necessarily. We're not suggesting others do the same thing. I would
Yeah.
assume that the road was a little bumpy for a little while, and so what was that road look like at the very beginning? When did you get your first employee? When did you start to say, "Holy moly, I got a real business here"?
Yesterday. No. The
Yeah.
the first, like, after I had put my 2 weeks notice in where I was working, and then the first day sitting in my home office staring at the computer screen going, okay, this is real. We need to figure out a way to make some money. What are we going to do? And at the time I had some people I was doing side IT work for. So I mean there was a tiny bit of money coming in that way, but it wasn't predictable. So really trying to figure out, where I was going to add value in the world. And then the company I worked for previously was a software development company, so I had written a few things for a client of theirs. And when I left, they refused to support it, so they called me up and said, hey, your former employer's not going to. Would you be willing to do this? And, like every good business that has a business model, an idea client profile, and a plan, I said yes because I needed revenue. So that was the beginning of the bumpy ride period of just saying yes to anybody who had a check to offer, regardless of whether it was good value or not.
Yeah, I get it. I get it. Yeah. So you went out on your own. There is usually a reason why people do that, other than Dad saying, "Hey, you got a $5,000 credit limit." There was probably a reason why you wanted to go out on your own. So tell me, why did you do this? What caused you? Whatever. You get the question.
Yeah, yeah. Well, when I worked at previous places of employment, one of the motivations for moving on was usually I can do it better, or we're not treating people the way they need to be treated. We're not treating our customers the way they need to be treated. It was kind of I have a servant leader's mindset in that regard. That in order to, like, money's never been the pursuit. It's money is the return for doing the right things for the right reasons for the right people. And I did not see us, it was just getting worse and worse. And I had this moral conflict of I didn't want to be where I was, and I can do it better. And so that was pretty much the business plan. It was to be determined, but I knew it was going to be something in technology. So, but yeah, that the whole culture piece of it is critical because, we spend a good chunk of our lives working, and if you're tied to a bigger purpose, it's not as much like work. And so that was really the catalyst for me to get out and take a shot on my own.
Yeah. Well, again, we met at Zingerman's a few months ago, and I liked you immediately, and we talked about shared values, and we talked about points of view of business and all those kinds of things. And I'm looking at your resume or whatever they would call it, because from the Small Giants community, and you're speaking at that event, and that's in May, I think. And I'm looking at
Hmm.
your description there. It says you're the founder of this company, and it is a certified employee-owned purple people-focused IT strategy, service, and support company. Certified employee-owned company.
Hmm.
Okay, is that an ESOP?
Yes.
Is that what that means? Okay, and so go a little deeper on that. When and why did you decide to go that route? You're obviously people focused. Tell us, go deeper on that.
Yeah. So as the business started to mature, I wound up getting several coaches and mentors over the course of our growth, and each one introduced me to some new concepts and things like that. And Doug Diamond, who's a business coach out of the Philadelphia area, he was instrumental in bringing the concept of open book management into our business. So that's
Mm,
Jack Stack, Great Game of Business.
yep.
So we started to do that, and the reason I did that was I believe 100% in my heart that if nobody's coming to work wanting to do a bad job, and if you teach them how business works and how the financial aspects of it, they'll do a better job. And for that, as a reward, you should share that with the people who are help creating the value. So a natural extension of that is as you start, your hair starts either falling out or turning the color mine is, people start wondering how long you got, like what's the end look like
Yeah.
for you.
Yeah.
And in our family, it was they're carrying you out in a box. That's what the end looks like. Is there's you're working till the day you die.
Right.
And one of my coaches was like, "Yeah, don't lead with that. That's not a really good recruiting tactic. People want to know you have this figured out."
Yeah.
So through the open book, that was when I was exposed to the employee ownership as a percentage of people who open their books wind up choosing that as an exit strategy. And it made total sense to me because who better than to take care of the business than the people who help build it and share that reward. And I've been given, kind of maybe an unfair label of being anti-venture capitalist. Um, I will say that there's a vast majority of them who aren't values driven. So for those who are just all about the money, then yes, I am against that. But
Yes.
there's a bigger root cause of this for me is there's a big income inequality gap. It just keeps getting bigger in the United States. And I looked at the vehicle I'd created here in Webbit as I could either contribute to that gap by enriching myself when I left, selling to private equity because that's what's dominating our industry right now,
Yes.
or I could take the harder road because there's definitely some challenges with being employee owned in terms of you've got to be you set it up correctly. You can't take on too much debt. You got to be profitable. A lot of
Yeah.
those things,
Hmm.
and you get less return than you would if you sold to private equity because the multiples are much higher in a private equity deal. So,
Yes.
but to me, that connected to my purpose of, if I truly want to be part of the solution of this employee or this income inequality gap, spreading the value of the shares of the business to the people who worked here would go a long way to, putting a flag in the ground saying, okay, we're going to be part of the solution.
Hmm. When did you first connect with Small Giants community? Maybe that was through Bo Burlingham. Maybe that was through the open book with Jack Stack and Bo and a mutual friend of ours, Bo Burlingham, a former editor at Inc.
Hmm.
magazine. So when did that whole concept of being well, define a small giant first of all, and then why did
Sure.
you like that community? What attracted you to that community?
Sure. Well, part of the great game. So Bo helped Jack write Great Game of Business, and then I met Bo in one of the conferences. Instantly loved the guy. I mean,
The best.
he's a national treasure. So everybody
He's the
should
best.
yeah, if you get a chance to spend some time with Bo, definitely spend some time with Bo. But I'm a pretty voracious reader, so reading the book Small Giants, that was kind of that and The Great Game is where I met Ari from Zingerman's, because they're in
Hmm.
the book Small Giants.
Correct.
He was speaking at the conference. Got to be good friends with him, and reading Small Giants. It just made sense. It's companies that want to focus on being great rather than big, and that
Yeah.
just there's so many people talk about year over year growth, and it's growth, 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 and it's like my question always comes back to why. Why do you want to grow? So then what? That's the next one. Okay, now you're going to get to be 500 million. Then what? And
Yeah.
then you're
Yeah.
going to be a
Then
billion.
what?
Then what? And
I
why
love
are
that.
you doing it?
Then
So
what?
this
Yeah.
community, the Small Giants people, are like-minded of how about we focus on being great and delivering value, and if we do it at a small size, that's totally fine because it's a bigger impact if we do it that way as opposed to just being a behemoth that doesn't really benefit mankind.
Yeah. So, what's your website? Tell everybody your website.
It is www.webit, that's WEBIT services.com.
Webitservices.com. You can
That
also
is correct.
find Eric Rieger on LinkedIn. It's Rieger. Rieger. Eric's first name. Founder and CEO. Small Giants community. We're talking about it, so let's give them a plug. I think it's smallgiants.org is the website. I think.
I
Are
I
we?
believe so, yes.
I believe so. I'll put that in the
Mhm.
show notes. We do want to talk about them a little more today, and we do want to make sure people know about that. I think part of the issue is, Eric, that people simply don't know about things like Small Giants because they're inundated with private equity pitches all the time. I have
Mhm.
clients who get two, three, maybe more emails a week. Your business is worth a fortune. You should sell it in the next 90 days. We promise you, you're going to get 12 times on and on and on and on and on. So
Mhm.
I think, from my point of view, that there's not enough people that simply know about things like Small Giants. So you're presenting at that conference in May, and again, it's May, yes, and I'll put the dates in the show
May
notes.
7th, yeah, May 7th through 9th, I believe, are the dates.
In Detroit, Michigan.
Correct.
Excellent. I'll be there. I'm all booked up. I'm ready to go. You're presenting there. What are you going to talk about?
Yeah, so the theme there this year is enduring, and one of the beautiful things about Small Giants is, a lot of times you'll go to these conferences and it's just all success stories. And you can learn a lot from success, but you can also learn a lot more from failure or from challenges and obstacles. And so that's what we're going to talk about. I'm actually Bo is the one who's presenting our session. He'll be chatting with me, and we're kind of going to go through the last probably 5-6 years of some of the obstacles. We've had several leadership change things happen here. We've
Mm-hmm.
had when you're in IT, every 6 months it's a whole new game. AI is changing the game
Whew.
for
Yeah,
everything. So
yeah, yeah,
how do you
yeah,
endure this? The pandemic changed people in a way that we were not prepared for and never signed up for. So
yeah.
what motivates you to keep going even though there's a lot of obstacles and there's a lot more days that are not fun versus fun? That's really the theme.
Yeah. There's a lot more days that aren't as fun as you think they are, especially when you start this business off, you know? You think everything's going to be
Yeah.
great. Yeah, it's a little challenging, but it's rewarding. Let's make sure we tell everybody that
Oh yeah.
you and I do
Yeah.
what we do for a reason. We know our why. We're doing in a certain way, and but I think that comes
That's
from
that's really the theme of my talk is like without the why, I don't think I would have survived in this business.
yeah,
Is there's so much risk and there's so many challenges that if you don't have that North Star guiding you,
yeah.
like you said, I get hit 2 to 3 times a day with private equity. They found my home address. They send me handwritten letters.
Oh my
I'm
goodness.
and
Yeah.
and that was one of the first things that when Bo and I first started talking, Our company, they used to do, Forbes magazine would do the 25 small giants every year. So they would handpick from around the country,
Yeah.
companies that identified this. So in 2019, we were one of the 25 that were selected. And in my conversation with Bo through the interview process, he's like, "So let me get this straight. You've had people coming up to you that were offering several $1 million for your business, and you could have been out and doing something else, and pretty much, if you live comfortably, or moderately, you don't
Sure.
really have to worry if you got that kind of money." And I said, "Yeah." And he goes, "And you turned it down?" And I said, "Yep." Didn't even think about it. And he just looked at me. He's like, "Why? Why would you do that?" It's like that was part of the test. And I'm like, because it never even crossed my mind to that being an option, because that's not what I started this business for. I mean, what a fraud to say, okay, it's not about the money. It's not about the money. Here's a couple $1 million. Oh, I guess it was about the money.
Yeah.
That makes no sense to me. But
Yeah.
again, I don't begrudge anybody who does that. Like
Yeah.
there
Yeah.
are there are lifestyle businesses. If you're upfront with people about what your intentions are, that's totally fine. But that's just not who I am and why we did this. And
Yeah.
that's why I love that community so much, because most of the people that come there, all of the people that come and stay, they're like that. They want to make a dent in the universe, like Steve Jobs used to say, is like, how are you going to make
Yeah.
a dent in the universe? And that's
Yeah.
what we're trying to do, is create this movement that makes a dent in the universe and helps people.
Well, helps people, helps communities, because that's what it's about. Small giants, typically, I mean, Zingerman's is a certainly larger, quote unquote, small giant, but that's basically
Oh yeah.
what they've done. In their new perpetual purpose trust is so revolutionary, is so cool. It blew my mind when I first saw it and heard it and talked to him about it. It's really revolutionary. Again, he's years down the road, further than you are, but yeah, well. So does that mean you should go broke or you shouldn't have any money? Yeah, I mean, how are you suffering? Are you driving a Yugo back and forth to work, or you look pretty
No,
healthy to me? You must be eating, huh?
I'm doing okay. I,
You're
I
doing
don't
okay.
uh, I don't I don't want for things. Again, first it comes down to, I think I can only speak for myself. So I'm not extremely materialistic, so those types of things don't matter.
Yeah,
My dad always used to say, if you got a roof over your head and 3 square meals a day and your health, I mean, you
yeah,
pretty much, you take a look at, in the history of humankind, there have been probably about 100 billion humans ever made, right? That in existence. There's about 8 or 9 billion on the planet right now. The odds of you even being born
yeah,
are astronomical. You already won the lottery just by being here, and the people who are pursuing material things, I think those are the ones that are the most unhappy, because I know money can buy things, and money can, like, and certainly I'm a huge fan of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. If you look at the pyramid,
sure,
like
sure.
if you don't have these base needs taken care of, it's
Yeah,
not going to be a
yeah,
fun existence. I don't,
yeah,
nothing down there I need. I'm
yeah,
I'm looking
yeah,
for that enlightenment part where you're actually connected to a higher purpose and making a difference. That's where joy, and that's where that sustaining, sense of belonging comes from. That's what gets me
yeah.
going.
As you know, because you deal with it every day, as I do, there are a lot of people who say, "Are you out of your mind?" You've heard that a million times, as I have, as I talk
Just
about some of these
today.
things. Yeah, yeah, just that. And I have clients
Just
who are in
today.
private equity, and I mean, part of my role with them is to say, "Are you sure this is what you want? Is this what you want? Okay, this is what you plan for. Great, take the million, take whatever it is, and then go do whatever you do." But the issue is, and this is I'm going to my version of what you're saying, is that they don't know. What do you call? What did you say? What's next?
Yeah.
What do you call? Yeah, what's
Then
next?
what? Yeah.
Then
Yeah.
what? As
Yeah.
you
What are
know,
you
Eric,
going to do?
a lot of them don't. I mean, they
Yeah.
just don't, and it's pretty amazing. So back on track here. Two-time Better Business Bureau Torch Award winner for ethics,
That is
2019,
correct.
2023. That has to be pretty neat. So, how did that happen? I mean, how did they know about that? And And talk to me about that whole ethics award. What was that like?
Yeah, I didn't. The first time that we won, there's a whole process you have to go through, and they vet out your, how you conduct business, how you treat people. I mean, there's a lot that goes into it, and the things you have to write out and the documentation you have to provide. It was a pretty daunting process. And the first year I think was 18 when we were nominated. We didn't win, but they came back and said, you guys you're right up there, and just kind of keep at it. And as you evolve your organization, just keep on the path. And then we won in 2019. And for us, there's like core tenets we live by. We don't allow commissions in the organization because commissions, again, this is just my philosophy, they allow an opportunity for somebody to put their needs ahead of the clients. And so when you're commission based, and our industry is pretty much the quote unquote salespeople, they're commission based. So that just opens a door to, not saying it happens, not saying it's unethical, but
I got it.
the
Yeah.
opportunity is there. It erodes trust. And then building the company to become employee owned. It's like we're showing the world that we're not just talking. These aren't posters on walls. It's like these people have a vested interest in the outcome, and they're going to do better for that. And if we do wrong, we're transparent about it. If we screw something up, we admit it, and we do our best to fix it as quickly as we can. We're not unlike any other company that's had growing pains, but it's the way you treat people when you're either when nobody's looking or when you screw up. That's really where your ethics come in.
Yeah, and it's not about perfection. You're not going to be perfect. You're just striving to be better all the time. You're excellence, whatever you want to call it. Yeah, I mean, I sometimes when I hear people saying, "Well, Marty, you want us to be perfect?" No, I don't want you to be perfect, but I'd like for you to keep trying to notch it up every day and every way, and trying to keep going on the right track, if you will. Um, so here comes an unfair question. I'm sure you can handle it. So if I were to hang up with you right now and I had to call two or three of your employees and I would say to them, ask them, what makes working at Webbit Services so distinctive? Why do you want to stay here? What's their work look like? What do you think they would say to me?
Well, it depends on who you talk to on any given day, what their role is. But I would think the majority of people are here because they want to be connected to a bigger purpose, and we talk about that purpose, the income inequality gap, all the time. That's my job here is to make sure I'm keeping the North Star lit. And sometimes when you're going through change, that can be challenging because people aren't really concerned about the distance. They want to know today. And that's been an area where we've sometimes fallen on, because like, again, I'm a 30,000 foot big picture. I need people to help remind me that, okay, but we still have a day to deal with. Um, and that's where the transparency comes in. I think people like knowing where things stand, having the open book, seeing that there's cash in the bank, no debt other than the ESOP note, which again, I didn't do a bank financing, I did seller, so I'm in complete control of that. I think people appreciate that, especially people who have been at other companies and have experienced, they've done great jobs and then they didn't get anything for it, or they watched somebody else benefit from it. Especially in our industry, there's been a lot of people who have come from organizations that have sold to private equity, and then people that they form bonds with in these small businesses now are set for life, and they just have a job and they didn't get anything for helping that person get what they got.
Yeah. So we've talked about books. We've mentioned books several times. Open Book Management. Bo Burlingham is an author we would certainly recommend. Um,
hmm
So, is there anything on your nightstand now that you're reading, or anything you can think of, or any recommendation that you make for any of us? That's an unfair
how,
question too, but go ahead.
how much time do we have?
Well, narrow it down. I
Because
figured you wouldn't have an answer to that, so go ahead.
well, because I've got 20, I think, or 205 books in my queue that I've bought that I want to read. But
Yeah,
right
got it.
now, my current listen, because I'm dyslexic, so everything's on Audible.
Right.
Chip Connolly's been another one of those heroes of mine. Because he was the hotelier. He owned the Joie de
Right.
Vivre Hotel.
Yeah.
Wrote
Yep.
about Maslow and getting mojo from Maslow. So his new book is Learning to Love Midlife. So
Mm,
as someone who's in that stage now, because he has a organization called the Modern Elder Academy, and
yep.
so that's something on my future list to look into. One of the things from his previous book, he talked about making the transition from sage on the stage to guide on the side, and it's
Wow.
like I'm like, oh, I probably should dive into that a little more at some point
Yeah.
as my hair continues to turn the color it's turning. So that's the current one on the nightstand is the learning to love midlife.
Yeah. Well, I know we could go on about the books. You know, if somebody asks me like which one you're reading currently, I go, I can't remember. I got a few of them going here. I'm not sure. You know, I'd have to think about that for a second. So let's wrap up this way. Well, first of all, tell us your website again. Is that the plus? Is that where people should get a hold of you too through your website? Okay,
Yeah, website or LinkedIn, either one.
LinkedIn.
Everybody knows how to track me down. So yeah, it's www.webitservices.com.
Okay. And I will put the Small Giants website, the correct website in there, which I think is smallgiants.org, I think. And I'll
Hmm.
put information about that in case somebody is moved by our discussion today that they want to join. And they should come just to hear you speak alongside of Bo Burlingham. I will be there also. I'm looking forward to that. So I kind of want to wrap up this way because I want to talk about spirituality. I think I'm okay talking to you about that. I think that's
Sure.
part of your shtick, if you will, your lifestyle, your thinking. You're a business person, so when I throw out the word spirituality, what does it mean to you? Why do you think it matters?
Sure. Well, I was brought up religious. I was raised in a Lutheran slash Catholic household. My dad was Catholic. My mom was Lutheran. So I had all that through growing up, and I'm one of these curious, questioning people. So I'll leave the religious connotations out of it. Let's just say that I became more curious about the wonders of existence. Like, why are we here? What's the point? I mean, and the older you get, you go through a lot of that. Like, at some point, the goal is your legacy. And so, from a spirituality standpoint, I've gotten in tune more like with Buddhist teachings and that type of, again, it's the journey of enlightenment, and I do a lot of meditation. I go on silent meditation retreats. Connecting this back to Small Giants, Rob Dube is one of my closest friends on the planet, and he wrote a book called Do Nothing. We go to Colorado once a year and sit on the top of a mountain for a week and just sit in silence and try to reconnect yourself to purpose and your breathing and groundedness and being one with nature. So that's really just, if you, and this is another thing Chip talks about in his book, is taking awe breaks, where you just stop what you're doing and you just go outside and just immerse yourself in the wonder that the world and life is. And that will help you kind of reconnect to like wanting to help other people, because you're just like in awe of the fact that we're alive. So that was all over the place, but hopefully that
No,
gives
that
you
that
an idea
answers it.
what goes on in my head.
Eric Rieger, I'm so glad I met you. We've connected. We're going to continue to talk. I will see you in Detroit, so I'm looking forward to that. Is there anything that you want to wrap up with that I didn't ask you about, that you want to tell us about yourself or your company before we leave this interview? Anything else to wrap up with?
Well, I mean, knowing you and the type of people you work with and the type of people you engage with, if anybody out there listening to this, they're struggling in business or they have questions, or it can be a tough, lonely road. So that's what I love about community. I'm always willing to lend an ear, a voice, whatever people need. So if they want to reach out to me through LinkedIn or through our website, I'm happy to give people time, and there's things I've done incorrectly in my life. So if you can learn from my mistakes, I'm happy to be that that guide, as it were, so that you don't have to suffer some of the pains and trauma that I have.
Yeah. So Eric Rieger, thank you so much for being a guest on the Business Builders Show. So again, my name is Marty Wolf, so thank you so much for listening to the Business Builders Show. I hope you can use this information that we shared with you today, and I hope to see some of you, or a lot of you, at the Small Giants community meeting, which is going to be in Detroit in May. So thank you so much, Eric. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, Marty. I appreciate you.
Thank you for listening to the Business Builders Show on the Business Builders Media Network. Find all our shows and many other great podcasts at businessbuildersmedia.com. That's businessbuildersmedia.com.